Good morning and welcome to the Monday, December 20th, 2021 edition of the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. Who is in charge? In a heated exchange between Vice President Kamala Harris and radio personality Charlamagne the God, the Vice President erupted when Charlamagne suggested that West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin was really the president. We have a lot to say about that this morning, about Joe Manchin, with our guests. And let's bring on our guests right now. Capitol Hill reporter extraordinaire Lauren Burke, Insight News publisher Al McFarlane, and Baltimore Times associate publisher Paris Brown. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, thanks for joining us. Before we get into the Joe Manchin, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Democrat, Republican dynamic, let's start with our news headlines this morning. We have a couple this morning. 3 retired U.S. Army generals warned of an insurrection or even civil war if the results of the 2024 presidential election were not accepted by some in the military. Former Major General Paul Eaton, former Major General Antonio Taguba, and former Brigadier General Stephen Anderson made the warnings in an op-ed in the Washington Post over the weekend. They wrote that they were increasingly concerned about the 2024 election and the potential for lethal chaos inside our military. The generals highlighted the disturbing number of veterans and active duty members of the military.
And reporting has shown that right-wing groups were plotting to bring weapons
on the Capitol by supporters of former President Donald Trump. More than 1 in 10 of those charged had a service record. They outlined a possible situation in which after the 2024 election, some service members might pledge loyalty to a Trumpian loser who refuses to concede defeat and tries to lead a shadow government. I want to get your thoughts on that, Lauren. Is it too soon to be looking at that?
You know what? I wasn't paying attention to the top of your news, so go to Al or Paris.
Wow.
Description. Sorry about that.
No, I think it's time to look at it, and it's a serious question. But the counter way of looking at it is to recognize the presence of our people in the military. I'm a veteran. I served in the Navy, and I'm connected to veterans here in Twin Cities and through the Veterans Association. And what I can tell you is that the presence, the posture, the stature of African American service men and women is significant, important, and is a counterbalance to the crazies. I experienced, and this is like in the 70s before you guys were born, probably, when I was in active duty. I mean, the 1970s, actually the 60s. Just rebel white boys and their co-conspirators in silence from the North, who always had an attitude about Black people, but I also experienced a sense of solidarity and a sense of maintaining both safety and self-defense among Black military men and women. So we didn't back down, didn't back up, and didn't take no mess from nobody. We knew that when white boys got drunk on shore duty, they started getting loose with the lip, we fought. So I'm saying that attitude is probably amplified now, and that we simply have to be aware of and embrace and connect our sons and daughters, our grandsons and granddaughters who are in the military, and create both a discussion and an expectation that they know what to do. They know what to do for Black people, and what to do for Black people is really what to do for our country. We have a stake in ensuring that democracy works for everybody in the country, and we certainly can't let them take it away from us.
Yeah. Well, let's see if we can get Lauren's attention for our next news topic.
You got me.
Yeah, I would like to add to.
Go ahead, Paris.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's too early to have that conversation, but I agree with Al. It is about upholding and protecting the Constitution of the United States, which is also the safety of the American people. So, yes, they need to have this conversation now. We do need to be prepared for that.
Yeah, we don't need a repeat of January 6th where, you just could not have imagined that happening. Our next topic this morning, President Biden's Build Back Better legislation is dead on arrival, and it's a Democrat who killed the bill. Democrat Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia said he's a no
cannot
on the
vote
Build
to
Back
continue
Better Act.
with this piece of legislation. I just can't. I've tried everything humanly possible. I can't get there.
You're done. This is a no.
This is a no.
It's a no, and so I definitely want Lauren's perspective on this, because he not only said no, say he's voting no, but he went to the Republican-friendly Fox News. Is there any significance behind that?
Yeah, the significance is they're not going to ask him any questions about exactly what he doesn't want in the bill and what exactly his framework was that he just brought to the White House days ago. That's the significance of Fox News. And also just waiting until the Senate adjourned on Friday after doing a bunch of ambassadors and some judges so that he wouldn't get chased around the hallway by media that was going to ask him specific questions as to why he has a problem with this bill. Clearly, the explanation given on Fox makes no sense, that he, quote, can't explain it to people in West Virginia, which is the 6th poorest state in the United States, where things like free pre-K and insulin caps of $35, capping insulin at $35, okay, a child tax credit, which of course puts money in the pocket of everybody, but also low and middle class Americans. Bernie Sanders was on CNN shortly after hearing this yesterday. He said that he would commission a poll in West Virginia to see if people in West Virginia would in fact agree or not agree with what Manchin is saying. But it makes absolutely no sense, his explanation. The only logical explanation is the most obvious one, which is that Joe Manchin is owned by Big Pharma and Big Coal. He's worth $4 million. He's worth $4 million because of coal, and his son is running the coal company that he made $4 million, that he's worth $4 million off of. And why I was distracted at the top of the show, I was trying to get the exact number of the amount of money that Big Pharma, that the pharmaceutical industry has donated to him. I'm sure it's in the hundreds of thousands, if not over $1 million.
It's over $1 million. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, his votes just happen to align with the two things that are giving him the most money. And we're supposed to sit here and pretend that we're not noticing that. So that was ridiculous what we saw yesterday.
Well, and the NNPA's executive administrator, Claudia Perry, says he's a Republican who infiltrated the Democratic Party. And, this is the first time, Lauren and Al and Paris, that the White House has hit back at one of their own, or supposedly one of their own. We heard Bernie Sanders, he gave a scathing rebuke of Senator Manchin. He even said that he wants to bring this to a vote because he wants Manchin to stand up there and say no and explain why, as Lauren just said, because he doesn't want to explain why. But also here, listen to this, and I want you guys' reaction to this. The president learned that his chief negotiating partner, I'm reading the statement here, was pulling the plug from the White House aides who did not hear the news directly from Senator Manchin, but from a member of his staff just 30 minutes before Manchin went on Fox News. And the White House issued a scathing statement. They said that Manchin's comments were at odds. This is a quote from the White House, at odds with the White House and with his own public utterances. And here's what Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, said. She says, on Tuesday of this week, Senator Manchin came to the White House and submitted to the president in person directly a written outline for a Build Back Better bill that was the same size and scope as the president's framework and covered many of the same priorities. While that framework was missing key priorities, we believe it could lead to a compromise acceptable to all. She went on to say, if his comments on Fox and written statement indicate an end to that effort, they represent a sudden and inexplicable reversal in his position and a breach of his commitments to the president and the senator's colleagues in the House and Senate. That's as strong a statement you're going to get from the White House, isn't that so, Al?
Well, we've discussed this dilemma that the Democrats find themselves in on my program. I have a team of lawyers and politicians that talk every Thursday. And the conclusion that came from one of our participants, former dean of South Carolina Law School, Burnell Venable Powell, was that somehow Joe Biden has to rediscover the Johnson grit, the Johnson gusto. What he meant by that was that in the old days of the big tent Democratic Party politics, a politician like Lyndon B. Johnson would call Joe Manchin in and not plead with him, not ask him, but pretty much say, damn it, here's the deal. Here's what you're going to do. And if you don't do it, you won't be returning to the Senate. We don't think that's happened. Does it need to happen? Absolutely.
Well, hey, Al, let me jump in for a second, Al. Didn't Donald Trump do that? I mean,
Trump been doing it. Trump
do it?
Yeah, absolutely. But the Democrats have not. That's the point I'm making. And the one that famously managed and governed or led like that was good old boy Lyndon B. Johnson. The question is, can Biden, who's been around for a long time, who knows that scenario, muster the gut, the gristle to bring that to the table and to bring Joe Manchin and the other outliers in, because we're so close. We're so close, and it makes no sense that Manchin can thwart the progress of the nation when, as Lauren said, we see the reasons. It's his personal financial, who owns him, that's controlling his vote.
Well, Lauren, does the president have the guts?
I don't know. I don't think so. And where we're really going to see this, the 200-pound elephant in the room is really on voting rights, because Manchin is against changing the filibuster. So you figure if Joe Biden's not using the full weight of his office to change Manchin's mind on Build Back Better, why would he use the full weight of his office on voting rights and the filibuster? We haven't seen it.
Yeah, Paris, you see this play out. It affects folks in Baltimore just as much as it affects everyone else around the country. Can the president change this, Paris?
I agree with Al. There's a time to fight and there's a time to refrain from fighting, and it is necessary to fight. I agree with Al in terms of, it's you watch this play out, and literally his, Kamala Harris mentioned this in an interview, his vote is on global stage right now. And I agree. There are some of his colleagues are saying, let's put this to the floor as a vote, so he can tell the world and the United States no. So he needs to be put on public stage to justify his actions, even against his own constituents.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is,
go ahead, Lauren.
We haven't seen Joe Biden do what Dr. Reverend William Barber, repairers of the breach, has said he should do, which is go to West Virginia, go to the poorest county in West Virginia, and verify this idea that Manchin can't explain to his constituents why this bill is a good thing. You want to talk about using the full weight of your office or going full LBJ, go to West Virginia and talk to poor people in West Virginia about whether or not they want their insulin capped and they want universal pre-K. I mean, I'm not sure why that can't happen. Right. The other thing that's in there, though, I think the ultimate thing that Manchin is against is in the bill is language that would give the government the ability to negotiate prescription drug prices. Okay, that's what this is really about. This is about money staying in the hands of the drug industry. I mean, that's what Manchin and Sinema are all about. And the idea that they can deny that when it's so obvious where the money goes in terms of donations is foolhardy.
Well, and he said something I still have a problem when I hear any politician, I don't care what party you're with, he says we shouldn't be given handouts. They are the ultimate handouts.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, we do that with so many things. I mean, I'll just start with the farmers. Farm subsidies are in the billions right now. We hand out to other countries all the time. I mean, this idea that you're only against spending that would benefit low income and middle class people, but you're okay. He was okay. He didn't say anything about the deficit when he was voting on the defense bill. Okay, but now all of a sudden, when it's this, now there's this big conversation. I mean, I think part of the irritation here is he just wasted 6 months of everybody's time. They've been talking to him for 6 months. And remember, the bill originally, one of the bills was $6 trillion. They went down to $2 trillion. They went down because of Manchin. Yep. They wanted to pay for it. He's complaining about the pay for us. How are we going to pay for this? And then they came up with a pay for, he was against that. So it doesn't matter what they say or what they do. And Schumer's right this morning. Put the bill on the floor and let's see a vote.
Yeah.
Well, Melissa J. Hill is watching from West Virginia. She says, teach, teach, teach. I am from West Virginia, and our number one revenue stream is federal funds for property. Look, Mitt Romney a couple of weeks ago referred to Joe Manchin as President Joe Manchin. Charlamagne the God and Vice President Kamala Harris had a very interesting interview just a few days ago, in which he also referred to Manchin as President Manchin. We have some clips, and we want to discuss this because we think it's important to discuss this. Let's watch this clip from the
Republicans
interview.
are blocking progress, but when I think about it, it's like we went out, black people, we voted, got Democrats in the White House, got Democrats the Senate, but it seems like a Democrat, Joe Manchin, is always blocking progress. Like if there's no hope in making Joe change, like why not say that so at least we know who the problem is? Because I feel like you get villainized the way I feel Senator Joe Manchin should, me personally. In the media, you get villainized for silly things like earbuds when he's actually stopping progress. Manchin, no. I want to know who's the real president of this country. Is it Joe Biden or Joe Manchin?
I'm sorry, I interrupted. I don't think the vice president can hear you. It's Simone. I'm so sorry, Charlamagne. We have to wrap.
She can hear me.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me, Madam Vice President?
So I'm sorry, we got to wrap.
Oh.
So I'm sorry to interrupt.
They're acting like they can't hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, so who's the
I
real?
can hear you.
So who's the real president of this country? Is it Joe Manchin or Joe Biden, Madam Vice President?
Come on, Charlamagne.
Come
on. It's Joe Biden.
I can't tell sometimes.
No. It's Joe Biden. And don't start talking like a Republican about asking whether or not he's president.
Do you think Joe Manchin is a problem?
It's Joe Biden, and I'm vice president, and my name is Kamala Harris.
Yep.
And the reality is, because we are in office, we do the things like the child tax credit, which is going to reduce black child poverty by 50%, on track to do that. We do things that are about saying that our Department of Justice is going to do these investigations and require that we end chokeholds and have body cameras. It is the work of saying we're going to get lead out of pipes and paint because our babies are suffering because of that. It is the work of saying people who ride public transit deserve the same kind of dignity that anybody else does. So let's improve that system.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's no question who's the president of the NNPA. He's here with us now, Dr. Benjamin Chavis. Dr. Chavis, good morning.
Good morning, and we thank all of our panelists for being with us. There's an old axiom in the black press. If you ask a tough question, be prepared for a tough answer. So Vice President Harris gave Charlamagne what he asked for.
And so with that, Al, Lauren, Paris, your response, and we'll take it in that order. Al, we'll start with you. Your response to that exchange between the vice president and Charlamagne.
I thought it was excellent. Number one, I think Charlamagne asked the right question. He asked it in the right spirit. His job, his duty, and his platform allows him to say what people are thinking and what popular culture and popular protocols have us not do, say, or think. He did it. But I think equally she was brilliant and she was on point and she was right to respond the way she did. And I think that the takeaway here is that we have to challenge our own people and put them in a position where they have to be harder, go harder, fight longer, and deliver what we want them to deliver for us. And they have to be in a position where they say, I can't go back there and tell them that that I can't get this done. President Biden, Vice President Harris have to be in a position where they cannot come back and report to Black America or America that we just couldn't get voting rights done.
Yeah, Lauren?
I think Charlamagne's question, as we just learned yesterday, was, of course, once again, the right question. And anytime you have somebody sitting around who's only gotten 200,000 votes versus somebody who's the president of the United States has gotten over 75 and 80 million votes, you want to ask that question. I actually think the vice president greatly overreacted, quite frankly. I mean, there's a lot of ways to react to questions that you don't like or questions that you think are stupid, but you have to remember, and I say this knowing that she's the most over-analyzed vice president in the history of the United States. I get it, but she doesn't have to act as if she's got to match Charlamagne in anything. She could have just said, look, Charlamagne, I get the spirit of your question, but obviously the president of the United States is Joe Biden. But we got to be real here. Joe Biden has not built public support for Build Back Better. He has not done everything that he can do to build public support for Build Back Better. And when you got a narcissistic United States senator who likes to talk to the media all the time, who likes to be chased around by the press, which is why he walks out on the Capitol Plaza so the press can chase him and so he can be on TV all night. You got to match that. You got to match that in your media and your communication strategy. And the White House is not doing that.
Yeah, and Paris, it seems to me that it was more of, and we love Simone Sanders. It seems like it was Simone who didn't want that question answered, but the vice president basically said, no, I'm going to answer it, and this is how I'm going to answer it. And she was very forceful in her answer, correct?
Yes, the old Kamala Harris came back, but I think it was a necessary question to come from her office to say, look, this is the president, this is the vice president. Let's just set the record straight. But I think that one of the things that is really important, he never asked her about the issues that she was laying down, but those issues, every single one of those policy agenda issues that she's talking about, those are the issues of the Congressional Black Caucus. You know, combating voter registration, strengthening the protection for workers, healthcare, pre-K, all of those issues are issues that impact the African-American community. And so there was no questions about that, but that is the CBC's agenda, which she put forth during that interview.
Well, also, we know, too, that at that point in time, the White House had not responded. At that point in time of this interview with Charlamagne, Manchin had not said no to Build Back Better. And at that time, the White House had not said what it said yesterday, which is they really took Senator Manchin to task. You think that would have changed anything in that interview? And the vice president's response had the White House put out its response before her interview with Charlamagne?
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. You see, the premise of the question that Joe Biden's leadership is weak stands as a problem until we saw that statement, which obviously he approved, last night, which of course lit Manchin up. But quite frankly, if Jamal Bowman and AOC and Cori Bush and Ilhan Omar could figure this out 2 months ago, I'm not sure why the White House couldn't figure it out, talking directly to Joe Manchin every single day. So somebody's got to wake up over there because the strategy they're using with Manchin is not working. Also, there should be some pressure on Chuck Schumer because Chuck Schumer made a deal with Manchin in the background that nobody knew about on the House side that wasted 4 months. And, when Pelosi can't get the votes, everybody's on Nancy Pelosi talking about how Nancy Pelosi couldn't bring it home. Well, Schumer can't get the votes, and he's only got 50 people to worry about. So at some point, Schumer's got to enter into this as a player and as somebody who gets criticized.
Yeah, and Dr. Chavis, the White House finished their statement by saying, just as Senator Manchin reversed his position on Build Back Better this morning, we will continue to press him to see if he will reverse his position yet again, to honor his prior commitments and be true to his words. Dr. Chavis, your knowledge of the administration, how do you think this is going to play out ultimately?
Well, I think the administration should change its strategy. Listen, Senator Manchin, no one senator ought to hold the destiny of Black America, of communities of color, of progressive America in their hands. I think the Democrats should have been trying all at the same time to woo at least one or two Republicans to join with them. They're moderate Republicans. I think going in a lone strategy is not working. And I think the bills that have been passed thus far have gotten one or two Republican votes. Yes. Look at the select committee that Benny Thompson is running. There are 2 Republicans on that committee, and they're making progress. And so I think that at the end of the day, you want to get voting rights protected. At the end of the day, you want to get those issues that Vice President Harris responded to Charlamagne. We want to get those things made law. And time is running out. They did the debt ceiling. I mean, they got, and I think the filibuster, I think there has to be courage. And I think Vice President Biden, who's a former senator, keep in mind, a lot of the strategy that the White House has embarked upon is because both the president and the vice president are former senators. Keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a foreign body. They're a part of the body that's now, they were a part of the body that's now being an obstructionist. And I think Lauren is right. Senator Schumer is going to have to step up to the plate. The Senate needs to fundamentally change. We talk about systemic racism and law enforcement. We have not talked about systemic racism in the Congress of the United States, the way it is structured. The filibuster is part of systemic racism. And if we're not willing in this tenure to get rid of the filibuster, then we're always going to be in a situation where 1 or 2 either right-wing Republicans or there's some right-wing Democrats, i.e. Senator Manchin, will be obstructionists. The quality of life in our communities is too much at stake to put it in the hands of these people that want to please Trump's base at the same time, pretend like that they are doing something for all American people. I think that the battle lines have been drawn, and I think that even if the Democrats lose, they need to go down fighting. If they don't fight, then they're going to lose the House and the Senate. So that's what's at stake right now. The future of America is at stake again.
Well, and to Lauren's earlier point too, reading just a quick statement from Ayanna Pressley, the progressive Democrat from Massachusetts. She says that we cannot allow one lone senator from West Virginia to obstruct the president's agenda, to obstruct the people's agenda. She says he has continued to move the goalposts. He has never negotiated in good faith, and he's obstructing the president's agenda. And Rep. Jayapal said that this is what we feared. She said that they should have passed the infrastructure bill along with the Build Back Better. And if you recall, Lauren, they separated them. And she said that, we did take the president's word that he would get 50 votes in the Senate.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, those 6 progressives were absolutely right. We all know that now. But the bigger piece is that we're in a fight for our democracy, because the next round is on the filibuster and on voting rights. Manchin does not want to change the filibuster rules until a Republican agrees, which we all know is not going to happen. The only person I can think of on the Republican side that would maybe even think about doing that is Lisa Murkowski. I can't imagine the White House has not spoken to her about all of this, but we've got the Republican Party in the background rigging the states to steal an election in 2024. And the Democratic Party has got to realize that that's the bigger piece here.
Yeah. Paris Brown from the Baltimore Times, who shares the same name as my daughter. I want to get your final thoughts as we close out this morning.
Wow. Nothing about politics has changed from the very beginning. But we do need to fight. I think and the truth really needs to be on public display behind what's going on. Manchin is bought and paid for. And I agree. His constituents need to know the truth behind what's going on. It is, I sit here in amazement, because I do understand the power that is wielded by blocks of groups such as the Congressional Black Caucus. It's a power block. Historically, right now, it is the largest voting block of 55 that can actually vote. And we need to use that platform to push forth our agenda. And to tell the truth about what's going on in policies that impact us. The there are issues in this bill, right? But at the same time, there are issues that are impacting our communities, and I think it's so important to understand those things in the larger scheme of what's happening. We need to fight. We need to fight.
Al McFarlane, Insight
we
News.
need to fight.
Well,
Yeah.
I come away with two what ifs. What if DC was a state? How would
Hey.
that change the dynamic
Hey.
of governance? And what if we changed the number of justices in the Supreme Court?
Yes.
And we didn't have a Supreme Court stacked by the conservatives, by Donald Trump, and those that intend to deny, that will support the negation of the advances we've made as a people. So I'm saying we've got to think differently, think more broadly, and see the connection between the institutions that limit our capability and breakthrough by changing the composition of the court, breakthrough by changing the composition of the Senate. And that means creating representation in the Senate and in the House from Washington, D.C. I think, as you said, Paris, we've got to fight, and we simply have to talk about the fight and mobilize and encourage our people to think, talk, and demand.
Yes.
And Lauren, Burke, your closing thoughts.
My closing thoughts is that if everybody thinks that this is exciting, watch what happens next month when we get into voting rights. And thankfully, for information purposes only, Reverend Barber has been great at focusing on exactly where this was leading. Barbara Arnwine and Reverend William Barber have been saying that this moment was coming for 4 months, 5 months now at least. And it came for Build Back Better first, but we're going to have the same discussion next month.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Chavis, of course, your closing thoughts.
For all of our 230 African-American owned newspapers, as they're well represented on this panel, and Karen Carter Richards at NNPA, I just want to remind everybody that we not only need to change what's going on in Washington, we also have to change what's going on in these state legislatures around the country. And these, I agree with Al, but one way you change the Senate is also you have to vote some of these senators out of office.
What you do?
Don't think that these people are invincible. From Kentucky to Texas to Georgia, we got Georgia, but they're going to fight back. And I think that Florida is a key state, and as well as Texas. We have to do a better job at the state level and at the grassroots level. If you want to change Washington, you don't change Washington just in D.C. You change Washington in every precinct, in every congressional district, in every Senate race. A lot is on the line in 2022. As it was in 2020. What happened in January the 6th, last January, it was only a dress rehearsal to what's going to happen in 2022, and as Lauren said, in 2024. This is the next civil war in America, and we all better be prepared.
Well, we certainly thank you all. Thank our producer for putting together this great panel with this great discussion. The NNPA's Midwinter Training Conference, we want to remind you, of course, it kicks off on January 19th at the Diplomat Beach Resort in Hollywood, Florida, through the 22nd, where the theme is the publishing industry advancing the Black press of America, reaffirming, engaging, and empowering. Visit www.nmpa-events.com to register and reserve your hotel room. The NNPA is adhering to strict COVID safety procedures, including anyone responsible for dining areas. They will wear gloves, social distance for everyone in all spaces, masks, and so forth. The NNPA repeatedly and will continue to advocate all necessary safety measures for its staff, freelancers, and all guests. So join us next month in Hollywood, Florida. Thanks for joining us this morning. We will see you tomorrow.